You're listening to The Life Manual with your hosts Tom Payani and Emma Bradford, a practical guide giving you tips and tools to enjoy a happy, fulfilled and successful life.
Welcome to the Life Manual episode 7. How you doing today, guys?
I'm great.
As you may have already noticed, it's not just me and Emma today. We've got a friend.
Yay.
I'd like to introduce Matthew Watson-Jones. How you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, excellent. And today we're going to talk about getting out of your comfort zone, how to overcome fear, tools and tactics to help you get out of your comfort zone and deal with, the anxieties and fears that life throws at you sometimes. Mm-hmm. So Matt's an expert at this. That's why we've got him in. And why are you an expert, Matt?
Why am I an expert?
Yeah.
I have done 11 years of improvised comedy.
Wow.
Most of that with the Barcelona Improv group performing on stage and helping to manage it. I've also done a year and a half of stand-up comedy. And with Emma, how many years have we done?
Oh, it's probably about 3.5, 4 years.
3.5 years of Good Vibrations Barcelona, which does community building flashmobs on the streets.
All right, just for the layman out there, what's a flash mob?
Our kind of flash mob is very different from the traditional flash mob, so I should explain both. A traditional flash mob is something that you've prepared, maybe a dance routine or a song, and the people on the street or in the square have no idea that something's going to happen, and suddenly people start bursting into song and dancing, and it becomes a public spectacle, and then when it's over, everyone disappears. But what we did was, and still do, is much more trying to build a sense of community in a world where people spend more and more time ignoring everyone else on the street around them and kind of being closed off into their own space, whether that's in their own head or looking at their mobile phones.
Mobile phones, yeah.
So we would do events that involved hugging strangers, or...
Do they know you're going to go and hug them?
Yes, well, this is part of the thing. It's this is embracing the fear as well. You've got to you've got to overcome this complete stranger's comfort zone. Like, what's safe for them? Do they feel safe? How do we make them feel safe to take part in these activities? And yes, so eye contact experiments, hugging, dancing.
Yeah, we've done all sorts. We've done pop-up picnics.
That's
we've
right,
done
inviting
MP3
complete
flash
strangers
mobs.
to join in with picnics.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's great fun.
And what's your sort of general reaction when you do this, most of the time?
Oh, you would get at least 60% of the people carrying on, not really paying you any attention.
Okay.
You've got, and of the remaining 40%, I would say half slow down or watch from a safe distance, and the other half actually get involved. So yeah, 20% of the population isn't a bad ratio.
Okay.
And when they get involved, they love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They absolutely love it, and it's a great experience.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Even just smiling at a stranger can make a nice effect. And
Of course it can, yeah. It's these simple things that make a massive difference, All right, so I wanna talk about your stand-up comedy.
Okay, right.
All right, because for me, I'm pretty impressed. Anyone who has the bottle to go up on stage and with only a mic in their hand and try and make people laugh has got my respect.
It is the scariest thing I've done in my life. And it's like, as you say, it's so, the reason it's so scary is because the audience is sitting there going, make me laugh. I expect you to make me laugh. And I don't know of anything else where you can get such instant negative feedback. The second you try something new that you're being creative with, they hate it and they heckle. And even if they don't hate it and heckle, that silence after you've delivered a joke is, well, it's almost as bad. Actually, no, it is worse. I think silence is worse. At least if
you'd rather have a negative reaction than silence.
Yeah, because at least you've elicited a reaction, At least you've got them to
engaged
react
in some way.
Exactly.
All right. I mean, so the obvious reason why 99.9% of people don't do stand-up
Yep.
is because I think they'd be petrified of getting up on stage
Yes.
and trying to go through what you've just mentioned, making someone laugh with only a microphone.
Yes.
So, you know, as you're in the 0.1%, and, you know, fair play
Yes.
for that, what techniques or tactics or strategies or habits or anything like this did you use to get over that fear? Was there even a thought process there, or was it just get up and do it?
The thing with stand-up is the delivery, because you can tell the exact same joke slightly faster, slightly slower, and get no reaction. So a large part for me was practicing at home, recording myself, listening back to it, recording myself again, practicing it in front of friends, and having that network of people willing to support you, knowing when you're actually going up on stage for the first time, you've got someone in the audience who will guaranteed laugh, even though they've already heard the jokes. That definitely helps.
So artificially setting up the situation a little bit for these small wins. You know?
So if you just throw yourself straight into the deep end and jump onto a stand-up stage and you're not fully prepared, then you might do a great job. But if you've given yourself the time to simulate it, that makes it much easier. If you have some idea of how you think it's going to go and you've practiced that, then when you actually get there, the same as learning a script when you're acting in a play, you just fall back on what you've learned, what you've practiced.
Yeah. So Emma, like the takeout there is visualization, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, visualizing really, really helps. And that's something I did when I did my firewalk. When I did one of my trainings with my teacher, and we did a firewalk, and I visualized.
What's a firewalk?
So yeah, to describe what a firewalk is, it's when I took off my socks and my shoes and I walked barefoot across some hot coals.
Oh wow, okay.
Emma sometimes tries to do it before shows, but I need to stop her because I need to record.
Just to kind of boost my state, you know.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for a firewalk?
So
that seems to me that's physical body. That's wow. Okay, go on.
So we there were a lot of things that we did. We boosted our emotional state. So we listened to music full blast, like really uplifting songs. We visualized how we wanted to experience it and complete it. And we also had a phrase, cool moss, wet like cool moss. So or like ice as well. So when you're imagining that you're going to walk across the hot coals, you're focusing on imagining that you're walking across ice or snow or cool moss. And what you're doing is you're just tricking the brain.
Yeah.
And you're kind of focusing on what you want to experience, visualizing that, and that alters the actual experience.
Have you heard of a guy called Wim Hof?
No.
It's this Dutch guy, and he's they call him the Iceman.
Right.
And I had a mate of mine who recently went to Czech Republic or Poland, I think, to do a course of his. And, it's all about, running around in the snow in your pants and swimming in ice and all of this sort of thing. But, I spoke to my friend of mine who went to this, and he said it was great. He said, he never would have thought he would have been able to deal with those sorts of temperatures like that. But because of the psychological states that he learned, it was almost like an out-of-body experience at times for him. He said he couldn't believe how his body could cope with it just because of the psychology he put behind it, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. It makes such a difference. And when you go through an experience like that, it's like, wow, we have so much influence on how we experience things according to what we choose to focus on and the emotional state we put ourselves in. And when I did the firewalk, I remember like walking through it, I could hear all the cheering, like, as we had everyone there cheering us on. And so there was the support there. We had the community. We had, we're helping each other through that. And I remember only at the very last step thinking, I don't feel anything. And then I was already off onto the grass.
Wow.
Because it feels like out of body experience. Like you're so focused on visualizing how you want to experience it.
And how did it feel to have done it? How did it feel like immediately afterwards?
Amazing. It's incredible experience. And it was one of the goals that was on my list, and it's kind of okay, I did it. I did it, and
because I think that's a big part of it too. Is it's seeing the goal that you want to achieve at the end of it, seeing how. Because in your case, you were super motivated to do it. Like you said, it was a goal that was on your list, and that obviously makes it much easier to have the motivation behind it. But also visualizing how it's going to feel when it's done.
So did you do that, Matt? For example, did you stand in front of the mirror or wherever, and did you visualize a joke getting a good reaction?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to. So I would speak it at the volume I was going to speak it on stage, and I would pause the length of time I was assuming the audience were going to laugh at the jokes. When I actually got on stage, though, and this happened for most of my stand-up career, I'd rehearse it with those pauses for the laughs at home, but once I was on stage, I would say the jokes, and then the pause would be like half the length, and I'd be moving on to the next one, and it would cut the laughter off because people would start laughing and then shut themselves up because they don't want to miss the next bit.
So you didn't give people time to laugh for long enough?
No.
Okay, that's interesting. So this was key then, visualizing a good response.
Absolutely, yeah.
And every time you visualized a good response of a joke, was the reality the same?
I'm not sure I follow.
So you visualized in your bedroom, in front of the mirror or whatever, a good reception, a good reaction to your joke. Yeah. When you actually did the joke on stage, did that visualization come true every time? Did you get the reaction you thought you would?
Every time? No.
Okay, so
some jokes would get a bigger reaction than I thought, and some jokes would get almost nothing. So
how did you deal with that? How did you deal with the negative response? What was your reaction to that?
So I always try to save my best jokes for last. And so you want your best stuff right at the very beginning and right at the very end. At the beginning, so that they warm up to you, so that they like you as quickly as possible. And you save your favorite joke, the one you like the most, to finish with, so that even if they don't like one of your middle jokes, you think, oh, that's okay, but they'll like the big one at the end.
Okay.
So just don't let it get you down.
Because I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like,
exactly.
How did you deal with a negative reaction, or how did you deal with something that didn't work out how you wanted it to? Were there any strategies there, or was it just more of a case of, all right, this is going to happen, this is, just the way it is, move on, forget about it?
I don't know. I think it differed depending on the show. The more confident I got, the easier it was to then follow it up with something like I used to watch a lot of Eddie Izzard when I was a kid, and he would always sort of write on his hand, they didn't like that one, and he'd get a laugh for that. Cut that joke next time. Yeah. And just to have that to train yourself to have that attitude of, oh well, and then even get a laugh out of that.
Mm.
So turning that negative actually into a positive.
Turn it into a different,
Which is massive, isn't it?
By the time I was doing stand-up, I'd already done improvised comedy for 4 or 5 years. So even though I was terrified in advance of someone heckling me and shouting out something, when they did, my brain had already trained to quickly come up with a response. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of typical people's worries would be if a joke fell flat or if they got a negative reaction, how bad that would feel.
Right.
But was the reality ever as bad as what you thought beforehand?
It really isn't the end of the world. Something goes wrong and it's just, usually you're starting in front of a room of maybe 20, 25 people. So 25 people heard you miss a punchline. They're not going to remember that in 20 minutes time. So it feels at the time like it's so critical, like you have to make everyone love you.
Yeah.
But if they don't, you've always got next time.
I think that's the thing. We take life too seriously sometimes, and it's just remembering it's not the end of the world. At least we've given a shot and tried it. And
our brain's so good at making things so much bigger than what they actually are, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the self-judgment.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
inner critic.
That inner critic.
That
again,
inner critic.
Yeah. All right. How did stand up and improv differ?
Oh, to me, they're complete opposite ends of the scale in so many ways. Because improvised comedy, you have nothing prepared. Whereas stand-up, you have to be more prepared than you were if you're learning a script. Improv, you have nothing prepared at all. So for me, I very quickly adapted to that I would get stage fright before going on stage, and then I'd be, well, I don't have lines to remember, I don't have, so when I did theatre, I would always panic, I'm going to forget my line, and everyone's going to see me forgetting my line. But with stand-up, with improvised comedy, you don't have lines, so whatever you say is the right thing, and you just, again, it's a lot of training yourself to believe what you said is true, listen to what the other person says. There's always someone there to support you. And the main rule of improv is yes and. Whatever has been said is true, and you should add something to it. So if Emma said the building is on fire, which it isn't for people listening at home.
Yeah, she
We're
hasn't been
safe.
trying any firewalks today.
It was safe.
She's just playing with matches while we're talking.
Yeah, Emma, put those down.
I have to accept that as reality and say yes to it. I don't go, no, it isn't. Emma, don't be stupid. The building isn't on fire.
That improvised scene would be over pretty quickly.
That would be over
wouldn't it?
really quickly because I'm shutting her down.
Yeah.
Instead,
Yeah.
I have to accept what she's saying and react to it. So I could say, yes, and I started the fire. I could go, and start screaming and running around and panicking and grabbing all my valuables. You have to... You don't just say yes. You don't say yes. The building is on fire, Emma.
Yeah.
Because then she's sitting in silence, going, "Oh, what do I say next?"
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, and that's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it's a great way to go through any conversation in life, really, because you have
Definitely.
you train to become a much better listener. You want to pick up on the little details that someone says, and use those details to go forward in the conversation. And and this is sometimes something I still have trouble with sometimes. Stop yourself from planning what you're going to say while the other person is speaking.
I mean, people do that in everyday conversations.
Absolutely.
don't they?
Yeah. But you're giving much more respect to the other person if you look at them and listen to everything they say. And then when they're finished, it's your turn to speak and you've got time to speak. You don't need that preparation time. You've been speaking all your life. You know how a conversation works.
Yeah. I mean, so with the stand-up and with the improv and,
Yeah.
and theatre and all these creative pursuits you've done
Yes.
that have got you out of your comfort zone, what sort of positive, consequences, results has that had on you as a person? How have these things changed you as an individual? How have they positively affected you?
Oh, when I was a teenager, I was the shyest, quietest, most introverted boy at my school. The thing I always remember is I would walk down the corridors with my arms behind my back, and I only realized much older that I was basically giving myself a hug behind my back because no one else was hugging me.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I'd sit on my own. It was a very sporty school and everyone just did sport and that wasn't my thing. So I would just do homework, and then when I finished my homework, I would do extra homework to impress my teachers. But now that I've done all this theatre, I am so confident talking to total strangers. I can just, if I'm in the right, I have to kind of turn on the mindset because I'm still an introvert at heart, but I can just sort of go, okay, I'm going to be sociable.
Yeah, and
Well,
I
that's-
can
that's-
see that.
That's really interesting you've just said that, because you've almost, without realising, set anchors on yourself, haven't you? And when I say that, I mean you can choose what state you want to be in
Yes.
yourself when you decide. And
Yeah.
that's something that NLP and different forms of psychology do. We have these techniques and these practice where you visualize a certain situation to create a certain emotion.
Yeah.
And so you can put that on yourself when you want or in a situation when you need it. You've done that automatically, or you've done that through these pursuits. You just said it there.
Yeah.
You just said you're still an introvert at heart, but
Yes.
you can change your state when you want.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's a massive takeout, isn't it? And it's really good to know. And I guess for anyone listening, it's good to know that means anyone can do it. You can decide what state you want to be in. It's just a bit of practice and getting yourself out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, and it was from a position of like, what do I want out of this? If I'm at a party and I sit in the corner and I don't talk to anyone, I don't have very much fun. But what do I want out of this? I want to have a good time this evening at this party, so I shall put myself into this mindset. I'll go, okay, I'm going to be sociable, and that way I'll meet someone new and I'll have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like from the work that we've done together in the flashmobs, I mean, like you describing how you were at school, like
You can't see it at all.
No, it's like completely different because you're the one there explaining everything to the huge groups, and huge transformation.
I have a loud voice.
So basically, these things you've done have made it much easier for you to take the next step or to push boundaries in the future. You know, like so things you probably couldn't imagine doing a few years ago now are second nature because you've gone through the process.
Yeah.
And so I guess you're a lot less intimidated by situations now.
Absolutely. In fact, actually just putting this together, we had, I think again when I was about 16, we had some sort of leadership training at school, and I was absolutely the worst at everything. I couldn't take charge of all these big rugby players and tell them what to do. And I would just sort of sit back and do what I was told. But I didn't want to be. I wanted to be someone who could be a leader. And now I am. Like you said, with flashmobs, I'm often the one taking charge. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy people wanting to ask me, oh, Matt, what should we do now? And I'm like, oh, people are coming to me to want to know what to do next.
Yeah.
That's great.
And quite often, like what we fear the most and what terrifies us in the beginning is actually what we can be really good at later on. If we just actually step into it and give it a go and try, and we can really enjoy it. I know with public speaking, that was something that I was so terrified. I feared it so much.
Well, we met up before your first NLP session, is that right? Your
The first workshop that I ever did, that was years ago. Yeah, Matt was one of the participants.
Well, but before that, you came to me and you were like, Matt, I have to do a workshop. You knew everything you had to say. You knew your topic back to front and everything, but it was just speaking in front of strangers.
It was literally a group of about 10 people.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like after 4 years of doing workshops and meetups and talking in front of groups of people, so I love it. I really enjoy it. And it's something that I really look forward to. And it's something that, like, the things that helped me, like especially with the meetups, was the sociable accountability. Like I set the meetup date, and I set the time of the workshop or the meetup that I was doing, the topic that we're going to be talking about. People started signing up.
Right.
So I had that sociable accountability. I was like, right, okay, I better show up now.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, unless you fake sickness, you can't pull out. I can't do it. Next week.
So I had that social accountability, and then I used music to build my emotional state. I used anchors to build my emotional state. So when I went in there, I was already connecting with things that I loved. I was already connecting to that feeling of feeling good and uplifted. And that really, really helped. Because then then when you're talking about something that you love,
right,
everything changes. Like you forget.
Well, and also you guys mentioned it earlier that you didn't even know you would love it if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, and we go through life without staying in our comfort zone so much. You've got to look at it that think about what you're possibly missing out on. You could be missing out on something that you'd absolutely love or something that really suits your strengths.
Definitely.
And just because you haven't taken that first step, you'll never know. You know, so it's in your own interests more than anyone else's to get yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so especially if people are feeling unfulfilled in their life, or they're wondering, oh, what is it that I needed to do with my life, then try different things. Get out there and try things that scare you a little bit in terms of like some improv or stand-up comedy or public speaking, or give it a go and see what happens.
I mean, the worst case scenario is you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And then you know.
And then you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and also I think, you know, being a bit too comfortable, that kills productivity. You know, that kills
and
progress and creativity. It kills all these things.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're not pushing any boundaries. You're you know, and it's why so many people in life would actually, I mean, it's getting a bit heavy, but, you know, if you look at people who have suffered from like domestic abuse, women who have suffered from domestic abuse, oftentimes they would rather stay with the abusive partner than change a situation, because change is so much more scary. This is an extreme example, but change is so much more scary than the situation you know.
Well, change is scary for everyone in every situation. I think as humans, I think we're genetically programmed. I'm reminded of something from the Croods. I think it's like what is safe is the right choice. So what you know is safe, don't do something new. Doing something new will get you killed.
Well, and if you trace it back far enough, this is because of, you know, our evolution, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, a long time ago, if you knew the cave was safe,
yes.
Then, but if you did something different, as in walking out of the cave and there's a lion waiting for you, you might get eaten.
But I like to see it from a different perspective, and the perspective is, I want to go out there and get life experiences. And so I get invited to a party and I think, if I miss that, will I have missed out on an important life experience?
I love that. Yeah, that's
and
good.
if I feel like, it'll just be the same as everything else, then maybe I won't go. But if it's going to be something new or interesting, then I should do it for the sake of experiencing new things in my life. And I like writing. I haven't done much creative writing recently, but some of my, I can't even remember which authors, but some of my favorite authors didn't start writing until they were 45 or 60. And it was because they'd had all this life experience that they were then in a position to go, okay, I can write now. I can write about all these things I've learned. And that's what I want from my life. I want to have these life experiences so that I can then go on and do bigger and better things.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what life is for. Like getting out there and having those experiences, enjoying it.
Making memories.
Well, and also, you know, doors open other doors. So even if you don't know even if it's not clear to you what a benefit of something could be, there usually is a hidden benefit there, or an unexpected benefit, or, you know, this always happens in life. Everyone's got stories of this where they said yes to something, or they took an opportunity and something completely unexpected, whether it was a job opportunity or a person they met or a friend they met who opened another door. You know, there's so many examples of this sort of chain reaction of events because someone's stepped out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I remember I started, because I was living and working in London before I started with NLP, and the very first thing that started me getting interested in self-awareness was shiatsu massage.
Okay.
So I did my first year training in that, and that's what then led me on to learning about emotions, learning about the mind-body connection, learning about all of that, which then led me on to NLP. And then I found something that I really loved. So yeah, absolutely. It's that there's all these different avenues that we can try out, and it leads on to something else. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Likewise.
We'll have you back on again in the future if you want.
Yeah, great. I'd love that.
Definitely.
Brilliant. All right. And thanks as always, Emma.
Thank you.
All right. And this is the Life Manual with me, Tom Payani, Emma Bradford, and Matt Watson Jones.
That's right.
Yes, got it right. All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You were listening to the Life Manual podcast with your hosts, Tom Payani and Emma Bradford. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share the link with your friends and family, helping us to spread these practical tools to more people in the world.